Hey guys, it's Tristan and Luke here. Now tell me, do you remember the Macarena? Do you remember Tamagotchi? Do you remember Frosted Tips? If the answer is yes, and you remember them fondly, then you probably grew up in the 90s, which is fortuitous, because we're here today to talk about the biggest console. Was it the biggest console of the 90s?
Of the 90s? I think so.
It definitely brought gaming to the mainstream,
Yeah,
put gaming on the map with people who weren't,
gamers necessarily.
gamers previously. We're talking about the original PlayStation. Specifically, we're talking about the PlayStation Classic.
That's correct.
Which we were able to get our first hands on with this morning at PlayStation's Sydney office. We don't have it here now. They didn't let us keep it. But we did get to go hands-on with it for a couple of hours, which granted, not enough time to play through the intro cutscene of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did try a fair few things.
But
let's talk about
through a lot of codec conversations.
Yeah, that's true actually. But yeah, let's talk about the system itself. It's obviously very adorable.
It's smaller than even I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Like we had some of those images initially being held in a hand.
Yes.
And even now, like I have big hands. I guess I don't know how big that hand was in the picture, but it is so small. It's small enough to fit in a PlayStation 1, like an original PlayStation 1.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
In fact, we did that. We may even have an image of that on the screen right now. I think the reason it maybe looked bigger in that original promo shot with the hand was because they had to make it larger in Photoshop to cover the NES Classic that was underneath. Anyway, but no, it is tiny.
Yeah.
But very similar in scale to, I don't know what the actual ratio is, you can look that up, but to the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic, that very much look very nice on your shelf next to those two. Very well modeled, very authentic, right down to the little cover for the parallel port at the rear, which you can't open, but it's still there. It looks cool. Well, cool, maybe not the right word, but looks authentic.
Yeah.
The reset button takes you back to the dashboard. The open button switches virtual discs for multi-disc games. Not sure if that was completely necessary.
Probably not. I think like we scrolled around the game. I think there's only 2 games with multiple discs. I think.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid and
Final
Fantasy.
Fantasy. There might be another. I'm not sure.
But even so, could I just hit a button to change discs when I'm prompted? Maybe.
They're trying to really recapture.
True.
Every sort of aspect.
Yeah.
You did need to get off your ass.
Speaking of
change
getting,
the disc.
that's true. Speaking of getting off your ass, though, the controller cords are longer than the NES Classic cords, which are infamously short. Still fairly short. I mean, I don't know.
Pretty short.
Would you say?
There might be 1.5 meters tops. I think.
Yeah.
I think they are longer than our meter.
But shorter than
you'd want.
Shorter than whatever your couch.
Shorter than generally people's, the distance people tend to sit from their televisions these days.
Yes.
And certainly, even I recall as a teenager, you could never leave the PlayStation under the TV. You'd need to bring it out.
That's true.
Put it on the floor in front of the lounge and then go back and sit on the lounge. Unless you sat on a beanbag beneath the television, because the cords were never long enough.
Again, that's all about the authenticity.
There you go.
And I should point out that, and they'll probably sell third-party ones or whatever, but this is just USB connection, so you can just buy a USB extension cord, I suppose.
Yeah, it won't sort of look as elegant because the USB the plug, adapter itself has been dressed up, with that little sort of PlayStation grey plastic to make it look like when it's inserted, it's some kind of proprietary connection. But when you take it out, it's not.
No. Actually, I don't know why we didn't mention this at the start, but let's mention it now. Just turning the thing on and getting that PlayStation sound is almost worth the price alone.
It's funny, there's out of all the things in the machine that they improved, they dressed up. The title screen is all high res, and then instantly nothing is high res anymore.
That's right. But yeah, it's got it's a hair on the back of the neck kind of moment.
It's a pretty great sound.
Yeah, it's a great. I would buy that. I mean, you probably can get it on a tiny PlayStation with the key ring, kind of just plays that sound. I imagine that exists.
If it
doesn't, and you're a Chinese wholesaler, please, we'll put our Twitter handles at the bottom there. Well, you can't use Twitter in China, I don't think. Well, let's not talk about that. I know that most people out there are curious about the visuals, just generally speaking, how these kind of first generation 3D games hold up. I know that I was certainly skeptical about it, and a lot of people, versus 8-bit, 16-bit 2D games, which don't tend to age as badly. So yeah, let's talk about that, because we played Metal Gear Solid, we played Destruction Derby, we played a whole bunch of Tekken 3.
Yeah, we definitely played more than half of them. We only have an hour and a half, but we played more than half the games.
Yeah, some hold up better than others, but
absolutely, yeah.
But overall, played on a sort of 50+ inch TV, which a lot of people own these days.
Yep.
From 1.5 meters away, it's kind of like being punched in the face with a bag of Doritos or something. It's just jagged edges everywhere, big polygons. It doesn't look great to varying degrees. I mean, Metal Gear I felt still looked really pretty good.
Yeah, I think Metal Gear was probably the standout.
Yeah, because it was a state-of-the-art game at the time.
Yeah. And you can still kind of transport yourself back.
Yeah.
And just appreciate just how cutting edge and just how much detail there was going on there at the time. Certainly, it's certainly very easy to do that when you're jumping between 10 other games and be like, wow, this does look leagues better than some of the other stuff that's already on there.
Yeah. But then again, like games that I kind of expected might hold up, like Abe's Odyssey, did not look that good.
No.
I mean, the animation's still really charming.
Yep.
It's still a great game in terms of the puzzles and everything, but yeah, it is not nice to look at.
That large.
That large.
I think people are a little bit unfair on that era, because there are some games that it doesn't really necessarily matter what they look like Tekken 3, for instance. There's a lot of purity to that sort of gameplay, even though you might not want to play that for hours and hours at a time, certainly, instead of, say, Tekken 7 or something. But there's nothing wrong with the way Tekken 3 plays. And there's certainly nothing wrong with the way that Metal Gear played.
There was something wrong with it when you beat me. But then when I beat you, it was working again. So it was a little glitch. But yeah, a lot of, the games do look a little bit like relics. To certainly, through a modern lens. But speaking of relics, I would say that some of the control schemes, I feel, are probably crippling a few of these titles more than the visuals. Like the visuals, I think your mileage from the visuals and whether you can embrace them or not might depend on what era you grew up in, or how old you are now. The controls are less. I don't know. They're kind of, for me, there's sort of less wiggle room with them. Yeah.
Something like Tekken 3, very easy. And even to my genuine surprise, Metal Gear, which I don't remember using the D-pad a lot with, but there's a certain with Metal Gear, because of the isometric view and the fixed cameras and all that kind of stuff, you can kind of start using the D-pad to move around, and you can get I don't know, it felt okay.
Right. At the other end of that spectrum though, Luke.
Yeah.
Is the Rainbow Six game. Is it just Rainbow Six?
Yeah, it's the original Tom Clancy's
Rainbow Six game. Obviously that series has gone on to bigger and better things. This is the original game, which I played it with the, obviously without thumbsticks on the original PlayStation controller. And it was unplayable, basically. I don't know how people played it back then. I certainly didn't. I
played on PC. I never played. Yeah, that's the first time I saw the PlayStation 1 version. It's different.
Yeah,
That much I
so
would say.
yeah, just moving with the D-pad and looking with face buttons is. I mean, I remember it kind of reminded me of when first-person shooters came to PSP. I suppose there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't great then either.
Yeah, and one of the buttons is a modifier to make your turn right button the open door button.
Yeah.
And that's like turn right, but it wasn't move right, right?
Yeah, right.
And so, right.
Right. And I guess the broader issue with the controllers, which by the way are perfectly, as far as I can tell, exact replicas of the originals, feel very light in the hand.
Yeah, very light.
When you've been using modern controllers. And also there's the tendency to kind of move your thumb to where you think a thumbstick is going to be. And it's not. Anyway,
It's just not.
It's just not. But the other thing is that, in a broader sense, for the system, for this, the system itself, is that it's without those thumbsticks, it's kind of hamstrung the whole library of games. Not to say that there aren't some great games on there. There are, but perhaps there could have been some even better ones if this thing had thumbsticks.
I absolutely appreciate that it's very easy to, like, from the media industry, to look over that side of the fence and go, but why didn't you put sticks on it? And I don't know what dollar figure that translates to, but I just wonder how, I just wonder, would it have been worth it?
Like, maybe put sticks on it and just have one controller in the box, maybe, and sell separate controllers?
Perhaps, yeah.
I don't know.
Like, because, you know, you got to assume that a lot of the people, a lot of these people will have friends that have purchased it and they can bring around their controller, or you can purchase a controller separately if you wish.
Yep.
I just wonder, man, because there are, not only will many of the games on the system itself would have been better with sticks, like Cypher Filter, or certainly, you know, the driving, like Ridge Racer Type 4.
Yep.
But you could just have more of them. And speaking of more of them, I just wonder, like, and it's another thing for us to sort of, we can speculate as to sort of why there's 20 games, and, you know, no more, no less. But why? Why just 20? You know, like, when Sony, like, I get it that perhaps you can't get, well, Tony Hawk's for various reasons, for music and such, but like, say, Tomb Raider, or some other really huge third-party stuff. Like, you look at the top games of all time on Metacritic for PlayStation 1, and there's lots of stuff in there, like Tomb Raider and so on and so forth. I get that because, you know, whoever has Tomb Raider wants a clip of the ticket now. I even get Crash, I guess, because I guess Activision, you know, owns everything Crash now. Even the old games, I presume, right? So I get they're going to want a clip of a ticket as well. So I get that you can't put too much stuff on there when suddenly you're not making any money because everyone wants a piece of the pie. But there's so much first-party Sony stuff.
Rapper the Rapper.
But even like stuff that they've gone and put it on there, like Siphon Filters. The original Siphon Filter is on there, which is an absolute favourite of mine. But what is the reason that there isn't Siphon Filter 2 and 3 on there also? You know? And I don't want to sound like, I don't want to sit here and sort of poke holes in it, and I don't, you know, I'm not trying to. Some people might be like, well, that's a really trivial thing. Like, why'd you choose those two games? You could expand it to anything. Like, we've got Cool Borders 2 on the system itself. Like, there were 4 Cool Borders games on PlayStation 1. Like, why not just chuck them all on?
Yeah. But I guess ultimately, while we do have some complaints, and again, we only had an hour or so with the machine, maybe after extended hands-on, we'd sort of come around to it. But ultimately, we can't discount the pure nostalgia of it, which is what's really going to sell these things, probably by the truckload. I mean, I bought the NES Classic, I bought the Super NES Classic, I set them up, played with them a couple of times, haven't touched them since. Ask me if I regret buying them.
Do you regret buying them?
I don't regret buying them at all.
Yeah.
They look awesome in my entertainment unit. I love them, and I'm sure it's going to be a similar deal with this thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you very much, Luke.
Thank you, Tristan.
What do you think of the PlayStation Classic? Have you pre-ordered one? Will you be shoving one up your stocking this Christmas? Let us know in the comments. That wasn't meant to be vulgar. Otherwise, be sure to check IGN for a review of the system in the coming weeks, and for everything else, gaming and entertainment and everything that's good.
Stockings.
stocking stuffing, stick with IGN.